decades, something like that. And as always said, I mixed my theoretical knowledge with practical background. Because, hey, what's the point in studying dialogue if you don't really put it into use? And I would like to present this idea of dialogue because this is one of what we call in social sciences an essentially contested concept. By the way, if you miss a word, or if you don't understand a word or two, don't hesitate to stop me and ask me, what did I mean by that? Because the most important thing in the next hour and a half is the communication between us. And everything that I want to say to you, I want you to absorb and understand. Yes?
So what did you mean by that?
Walk.
By understanding my thoughts and what I'm saying, or
No, the first sentence. Yes, the word that you used, you said, I call this.
Oh, essentially contested concepts. Yes, that was my second sentence. I was leading towards it, but I really acknowledge your curiosity. And I encourage you to ask. Don't hesitate. So essentially contested concepts are words, concepts, idea that from its essence, from its very beginning, people contest it. People have different views about it. They think they know what it is, but actually they don't know accurately what it is because there are other ways to understand it. For example, freedom, justice, equality. If everybody would have understood this topic the same way, there would be no conflict, right? No wars, because most wars are about those abstract concepts that people understand differently. Dialogue is one of them. Conflict is one of them. And this is why I want to start with you a short journey to understand the essence of dialogue. And hopefully at the end of it, we'll be more or less on the same par, understanding dialogue more or less in the same way. Dialogue, like conflict, is one of those concepts that everybody thinks they know what it is, right? Do you know what dialogue is? Sure you know what dialogue is, right? Putting people in a room and have a congenial atmosphere and start talking. Here we go, we have a dialogue, right? No, absolutely not. It's a conversation, yes. It's a discussion, yes. It's a talk, yes. All of the above, but it's not dialogue. If I say something like that, that means that dialogue has something special, which is not any discussion, or any talk, or any group of people getting together like you in a room and having a nice friendly atmosphere. If I'll tell you, don't start a discussion, and because you know each other, you're all colleagues from Tech to Peace, you would say, we just had a dialogue. But you would be wrong. Why? Let's start our journey. And I want to start, the first half would be dedicated to the concept of conflict. Because like in dialectics, something is understood in contrast to something that yields it, right? We cannot fully understand light without understanding what darkness is. And you probably have lots of other examples. It'll be difficult for us to understand the essence, fully understand, fathom the essence of dialogue without really understanding the need for dialogue. The need for dialogue arrives when you have the sense that you don't communicate well with the other. And you don't communicate well with the other on the background or in the context of disagreement or conflict. So far so good? Don't hesitate to stop me if something is ambivalent or misunderstood by you. Now the biggest challenge of all, technology. Let's see if it works. Yes, this is not me. This is a projector, so forgive me for that. It can be creative, but it's not me.
Can we maybe open more light? It's so dark here.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I don't think just something more.
But it's kind of romantic, isn't it?
Yeah, but also.
Oh, I see. With me? No, it won't happen to you. So, conflict. Here's another thing that I'm sure you know, or you think you know, what conflict is. Ooh, I know what conflict is. Really? Okay. All right. So I'm going to give you, look, I come from political science, but I don't believe that anything can be understood from one single perspective, on one field of knowledge. This is why interdisciplinary approaches is very important. Right? So this is what I want to do to you today. I'm going to present an inclusive definition of conflict, which comes from sociology, psychology, political science, law, and other fields. You'll probably recognize them. So I'm going to present you with an inclusive, generic definition of conflict. What do I mean by generic? That everywhere conflict happens, at home, in a workplace, outside, in a football team, in a culture, in a state, civilization, every place people gather, they have conflict because they're different. Different. We are all different. We are all, each and every one of us is a universe with different priorities, different preferences, different fears, different hopes, different everything. So just think about it. Two people coming together, a couple, want to have romance, going out. It's to bring together two worlds. Think about a family. Think about a society. Think about a culture. In those conditions, conflict is obvious because of the variance. So my initial thought to you, and see how you absorb it, is that conflict is essential. It's necessary. You know what? I'm going to go further. Conflict is good. It's constructive. And what's the issue here? The issue here is because how to deal with conflict. How to deal with conflict. And the challenge is not to shine it away, not to put it aside, not to ignore it, to let it out. To let it out, and then to deal with it. Because if you keep it inside, it'll explode on you. Now, the challenge is to have the tools of how to grapple. You want to sit down? Oh, you're one of those. Okay.
And one of these.
Oh, the press.
No, definitely the press.
Yes. Beware of the press. So, let's go through the definition of conflict, and I'm going to get your attention to the fact that I'm going to present 4 components of conflict, okay? The first one is this, right? Obvious. We need more than one entity to have a conflict. I'm taking a methodical pause now because at this point, usually, there are questions or comments or remarks. If we don't have them, I'm going to pursue to the next definition factor, and maybe the question will come to you later. We need to have incompatible interests between those more than one entity. Incompatible, not compatible. Not competing, nothing else but incompatible. Totally in comparison to one another, zero-sum game situation. Okay? Now, all those things that I'm telling you now when I present the conflict, think about your own conflicts. Your own conflict, those that you have, that you're about to have, and those that you passed, that are left behind. See if all those components exist. Try to identify them, please.
What about the conflict that you have with yourself?
Okay, that's the question that I was expecting in my last theoretical methodical pause. I'm glad it's coming up now. Yes, there are internal conflicts, absolutely, between what we are and what we want to be. What we are and what we used to be, the golden age of the past. However, 2 entities. Notice I didn't say 2 people or 2 nations, but 2 entities. So 2 entities or 6 entities or endless entities can exist within a human body. Still, it is necessary to have a conflict. And incompatible interests between those entities. Now, this is important. What we need to have a conflict, a flagrant, a manifest, and out in the open conflict, is awareness. Here we have an incipient, a build-up conflict, but it's still dormant. It's inside. Nobody notices it. I bet you, all of you now, have multiple incompatible interests with someone. But you're not involved in that many conflicts because you're not aware of them. See what I say? See what I mean? Good. So awareness is the catalyst that pushes us to the verge of the possibility of conflict. But you probably remember that I was talking about 4 components of the definition. So we're missing something here, which is important. Heck, it's critical. Without it, we don't have a full-fledged conflict. And this is this, choice. Choice. What I'm saying here is that our conflict is basically our decision whether to enter, join a conflict, or to refrain from it, stay out of it. Again, don't think about historical wars or conflict, the big ones. Think about your own conflicts. Today, with your neighbor, with your spouse, with your teacher. Those immediate ones, close ones. Try to identify those 4 components. True, sometimes the options are not that glimmering, but it's us who make the decision whether to join this conflict or not. This is important because sometimes we hear all kinds of stakeholders saying, I didn't have a choice, it landed on me. That's BS. Okay? Usually they say it after they took the wrong choice. People are taking this on tape. I don't want to be blunt. So I'm delicate. So usually people say that, leaders say it, decision makers, I didn't have a choice. Notice the timing when they say that. It's after, post facto, after they realize that they made a bad choice. So they explain, I didn't have a choice. Leonard never is. Even, the story of Masada, right?
Yeah.
73 BC, right? Not BC, AC. So they had 2 choices.
I'm not sure the Palestinians know the story of Masada.
Oh,
It's a very Israeli myth. You know what is Masada?
it's a good word, myth. That's what it is, exactly.
Subconsciously, I said that.
Yeah. The last offender,
You had a
the
choice.
zealots, the Jewish zealots that ran from Jerusalem after Jerusalem was taken by Titus and the Romans, they bastioned themselves on the top of a mountain, Masada, in the desert of Judea, and the Romans put them under siege for a couple of weeks and then stormed the place. They had, so in a myth, no choice. The Romans wanted to devour us. No. You had a choice to fall under the Romans and be a Roman prisoner of war, or to